Darasacom, learning without boundaries.
Welcome to this video. Now in this video I will show you how to write chemical formulas of compounds that have cations with varied valences. What do you mean by varied valences? Let me show you an example so that you understand what I say. You can have copper 1 chloride or copper 2 chloride. Now, these two seems pretty the same, but they are different. The difference in these two is this number you see here. This number that is written in Roman numbers bring the difference, the whole difference in these two compounds. Now, in this compound number 1, the valency of copper is 1. The number that is written here is the valency of the cation. So the valency of copper is 1. In this one, the valency of copper is 2. So their formulas will be pretty different. So we go to the first one. When writing the formula of the first one, copper has positive charge, just like that. Positive. That means it is 1 positive, and chloride will always, or in this case, has a negative charge. Therefore, the formula becomes copper 1 chloride, like that. What about copper 2 chloride? This one. Copper 2 chloride, the valency of copper in this case, so this is our example 1, this is 2. Now, the valency of copper in this case is 2 plus, because it is copper 2, and then chloride negative. So the formula will be, remember what we said, we simply exchange. So the formula will be copper 2 chloride, like that. So this is copper 1 chloride, this is copper 2 chloride. Let me show you another example. Let us look at iron 2 sulfate and iron 3 sulfate. In our first case, iron has a valency of 2, as you can see, and so the charge is 2 plus. And sulfate, as we saw in our previous video, if you have not watched our previous video on radicals, kindly do so. Sulfate is 2 minus. Therefore, the formula 2 and 2 cancels out. The formula is iron 2 sulfate. What about iron 3 sulfate? In this case, iron has a charge of 3 plus. If you see 3 plus, that is the valency of the cation. Then sulfate 2 minus. So when writing the formula, we bring these 2 here and these 3 here, and 3 here, and so our formula is iron 3 sulfate. Iron 3 sulfate. Most students start by naming from the formula, and that is why they get confused. For example, a student will look at this formula and they will think of iron 2 sulfate. No, if you start naming from the formula, you'll get it all wrong. A student may be tempted to say that this one is. So if you start naming from the formula, you'll say that this one is iron 2 sulfate. You will be tempted to say that this one is iron 1 sulfate from the formula. But we get the formula from the name, as we have seen. We get the formula from the name. Iron 2, iron 3. All right? Iron 3, iron 2. When you follow the procedure, you get this formula and you get this formula. Pretty easy, right? Then the other example that I'd like us to look at is sulfur 4 oxide and sulfur 6 oxide. Sulfur 6 oxide. All right. So we start with sulfur 4 oxide. That means that sulfur has a charge of 4 plus, oxide always 2 minus. As we said, you exchange. This one becomes 2 and this one becomes 4. However, the formula should be written in the simplest ratio, because formula simply shows the ratio in which the various atoms are combining, or ions. So ratio should always be in the simplest form. So for us to show this ratio, we simply by 2 1 by 2 2 by 2 2 there, so the formula becomes sulfur 4 oxide. So 1 sulfur combines with 2 oxygen to form sulfur 4 oxide. That is the ratio. So if you have 2 and 4, you put it in the simplest ratio. Then we have sulfur 6 oxide, 2 minus there. As you can see, sulfur 6, so 6 plus, you exchange, so this one becomes 2, this one becomes 6. However, as I said, should be written in the simplest ratio by 2 1 by 2 3. So the formula is sulfur 6 oxide. Sulfur 4 oxide, sulfur 6 oxide. Then, lastly, I'd like us to look at nitrogen. We shall look at nitrogen 1 oxide, nitrogen 2 oxide, and nitrogen 4 oxide. Nitrogen 4 oxide. So we start with nitrogen 1 oxide. Nitrogen, remember this is the valence of the cation, and as far as it is on this side, it means that it has a positive. Then oxygen, then of course you exchange. As we said, you bring this one 2 here and this one is 1. We don't write 1, so that is nitrogen 1 oxide, nitrogen 2 oxide, nitrogen 2 oxide. Again, this one, of course, this one is 2 plus 2 minus, cancels out, so the formula is like that. If they are the same, it means that the charges will cancel out, so the formula is nitrogen 2 oxide. Then we have nitrogen 4 oxide, nitrogen 4 oxide, and oxygen. Again, you exchange these two, these form, then cancel out by 2 1 by 2 2, so this is nitrogen 4 oxide. As I said, if you name from the name, from the formula, you might get confused. I have students who will think that this is nitrogen 2 oxide and this one is nitrogen 1 oxide. No, remember this is coming all the way from here, so it becomes easier to do that. So I hope now it is easier for you to name or to write the formulas of compounds with valence, varied valences. I would like you to try others like copper 2 sulfate. You can try others like iron 2 oxide, iron 3 oxide, and let me know whether you're able to do it. Remember to subscribe.